We're back with the D Money Show for another special edition. And before we get started, I have to thank our main sponsor, EDM Network. You can find them at edmleadnetwork.com. I'd also like to thank Contact.io for being a part of some of these series. And if you're not going to that show coming up, you have to go. Now, we're all in the industry of performance marketing. And my last guest I had, the other episode, was using the term top of funnel. If you saw the Charlie episode or some of the Charlie clips. What is top of funnel? We're going to get into all of that and how does it work? And well, you know what? I'm just going to get into it because I got Mike here and Mike is with Top of Funnel.
What's going on, Darren? How are you?
Topoffunnel.com. What a great name, by the way.
It is, right? It's I think what the kids call a double entendre, right? It has multiple meanings, the same word. And I get told all the time that my email is the simplest there has ever been named, and it's simple, mg@tof.io. And you know what? I'm not sure if there's a shorter email in existence.
TOF. I love that.
Yeah.
.io. Love it.
Right.
So let's get into everything.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, tell me how you got in the industry.
Gosh. So I've been running companies for the last 10 years, and December 2023, I decided to start my own insurance agency after exiting my first ever startup. And about midway through last year, we had hired about 500 agents, and they were being started on mail-in leads that were 3 years old. And every time I had to tell a new agent that your first lead to work is a 3-year-old lead, I was cringing inside. I was like, there has to be a better way to get better data, to get better leads that aren't going to rip an arm and a leg out of these people's checking account. Because a lot of people that join the insurance industry, they're not doing it because they already have money. They're doing it because they want to make money. And I was like, I'm obsessed with finding a way to discover some sort of method to give these new agents a better chance at succeeding, because that's really what it's all about. Giving businesses better data is not about me making more money. It's at least at first, it's about them getting more wins. And that is what makes me more money. And the same thing works if you're building an organization. And so mid last year, I was introduced to Trenton, my now business partner, and I got my first order of intent data from him. And I brought it to some of my agents, and the responses they gave me were kind of crazy. These people were getting called, and they're like, "How did you know I was looking for this? How did you know I was looking for this?" And my agents were coming back and telling me this. They're like, "Mike, we've never had a lead respond like this." I'm like, "Yeah, that's because we literally knew they were actively looking for insurance products before you even reached out to them."
A qualified lead.
Yeah. What I like to tell people is that, you know how they say Google is watching you? Well, we are who Google uses to watch you. And we know pretty much everything about you except what you do in incognito mode in your browser.
Pretty creepy.
It's very creepy.
Really creepy.
It's very creepy. And that, interestingly enough, is a responsibility I don't take lightly. I think at the end of the day, there's two kind of perspectives on things that humans believe to be potentially life-altering. We either run away from it or we embrace it. And I think just like with AI, just with everything that could be scary, I think we have an obligation to lean in and to understand, because I think it's that lack of understanding that allows us to be manipulated and coerced into doing things that, maybe we just shouldn't be doing.
So before you met Trenton, you were already kind of in the space?
Yeah, absolutely. I was running my own insurance agency, and we were doing primarily a lot of web leads, not a lot of calls. Actually didn't get into the call space until about 8 or 9 months ago. But yeah, I met Trenton just because I wanted to find a way to get better data to my agents. And when I found that I could get that intent data, I was like, that's when I really started like, man, I don't even know if I want to run my agency
anymore.
And
by the way, Trenton was with Audience Acuity.
Yes. Trenton was with Audience Acuity at the time. And Audience Acuity, our parent company, some of the most wonderful people I've ever met. There's nobody I'd rather have this data kind of in the hands of. You know what I'm saying?
So Audience Acuity has a ton of data.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so that helps.
Yep. And TOF is the only, really at this point in the country, the only officially licensed, freely licensed company that can take that data and pretty much do whatever we want with it.
Wow, that's a lot of power there.
Yeah, it's a lot of power.
Okay, so let's talk about top of funnel. How would somebody work with you with top of funnel? Tell me how that works.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, the first kind of conversation I have with people is, well, we track over 2 trillion transactions of online consumer behavior every single week. So with a JavaScript tag that sits on about 180,000 different websites, partnerships with Amazon, Live Intent, I'm seeing when people are actively doing different keyword searches, when they're clicking on different websites, when they're opening up different emails. And with that, we aggregate intent. So when somebody comes to work with us, their biggest question is, do you have consumers that are in market for life insurance, that are in market for roofing? And we go through our super identity graph, we go through our confidential and private materials and really kind of explain what exactly it means to be an in-market consumer. So from that point, right? Okay, cool. We have this many people in this many states that are actively looking for roofing, right? Well, what's really cool too is we have over 496 unique identifiers on each consumer as well. So this allows us to see, okay, well, this person bought a house on this date, and this is the size of their house, and this is the shape of their roof, and this is how much money they make, and this is their credit range, and this is how many credit cards they own, and if they like NASCAR, and if they own stocks and bonds, and if they're even likely to open a mortgage refi or HELOC loan in the next 90 days. So we have an insane amount of data on each consumer, so naturally there's a ton of privacy. So in that process of beginning to work with us, we're first identifying, okay, do we have a person in market? Well, yeah, absolutely we do. The second thing we are looking at is, well, what are the qualifications of the need of the client that's come to us for this data? Obviously, for somebody that's looking for, let's just say, final expense life insurance, right? There's a very specific age parameter, there's an income parameter, and we're able to pre-qualify intent with those personal identifiers to generate hyper-qualified audiences for pretty much, I think the count now is over 10,000 different verticals.
10,000.
Yeah.
What's number one?
Number one right now, I think, at least with what we're seeing, is going to be commerce or insurance. I think I get more inquiries about how our data can be used in the insurance space and general e-com than any other use cases. And then from there, it probably spirals down to home services. And when I say insurance, I'm saying auto, home, life, health, because we even have data feeds on like people that are turning 65, which is great for health insurance companies. But it goes on and on and on. I was looking through our super identity graph the other day. I mean, I see people that are actively in market for knitting.
For knitting.
For knitting. Yeah, it's truly insane.
It's crazy because, I'm starting some school groups pretty soon.
Okay.
And one of the big school groups that my guy Silo, a lot of people know Silo in the industry, he said that there's a woman who's got a knitting course community and she's doing like 35 grand a month. So don't underestimate knitting. I'm just saying. And that came from a fellow industry person who actually coached her up and got her those leads. But that's really interesting. So number one would be like any kind of insurance, and then probably also up there would be debt.
Yep, absolutely. We have folks that are actively in market for financial assistance, for personal debt, for debt consolidation. And this is really just folks that we see browsing different websites to solve those problems. So yeah. And so we take this data, this is all first party data. We take this data, and I would say the best use case with this is working with organizations that can run media buying with custom audiences. Because as you had your episode a while back with Charlie, and one thing he talked about was that you can't attribute the last click of a customer journey to them being the reason why they decided to buy. And intent audiences, initially, I think a lot of people look at them and say, oh, let me just run a direct response campaign to this person and they're going to buy because we already know they have the intent. You still have to obey the laws of human psychology. So somebody wants to use our intent audiences. My encouragement is a multi-channel approach that takes them from Facebook to Instagram to Reddit to YouTube sequentially on a journey. Because I was talking to somebody about this the other day. The best retargeting is the retargeting that makes the consumer feel not that Google is watching, but that the universe is watching. Like, oh, wow, this is exactly what I needed. And if you're retargeting well, you will create a moment of synchronicity in the consumer's eyes that make them buy every single time. And that's not always going to be a blanket direct response buy now. You have to know your consumer as good as they are. And if you don't, it doesn't matter what data you use. If you don't know who you're selling to, you're still just taking a ton of shots without really working on your aim.
So you could take anybody, literally anybody that's selling anything, because the data that you have to back up everything literally is how many thousands of niches?
10,000.
10,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And we just released our B2B signal database. So now, historically, we knew what consumers were looking for. Well, now I know what businesses are looking for. I know what services businesses are actively searching for. I was looking through our business signal list. We have a 7-day count running every Friday, online lead gen, millions of businesses actively looking for it. And then I can segment that down to the personal information of the business owner and the SIC code of the business, which gives me the industry that they're in. So now this is what I'm so excited about. The B2B signals give me the opportunity to do insane marketing to businesses that are looking for any service. I mean, I was on a call with the retriever guys the other day. We have, in the last 7 days, millions of people that are looking at retriever services, right? I can see when businesses are actively now looking for other services to grow their business, and it's opening and unlocking a whole new world for us, Darren.
Can you find me sponsors for Affiliate Ball?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely.
I didn't expect that to be an absolutely, but I'll take them.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Great.
Heck yeah.
And speaking of Affiliate Ball, here's my little segue to get into. You're going to DJ the Affiliate Ball. We got Too Short coming up. It's going to be August 4th.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of people like this thing called EDM. It's also my sponsor, EDM Network, but I mean the music.
Yeah.
And you're like a very good house EDM DJ, and you've recorded with Oakenfold.
That's right.
Tell me, how does a guy like you get to become a DJ, get to be so good at it that you have a track with Oakenfold?
Gosh, that's a really, really long story that I'm going to try and condense into about a minute. So I've been playing music my entire life. I grew up touring. I stopped touring when I was 18. I got kicked out of the band of my dreams, went down a very opposite path religiously, kind of explored that for half a decade. After I kind of moved into a different phase of my life, I first started DJing, about 10 years ago now? Yeah. Wow. About 10 years ago, a couple months ago. And I realized that for me, DJing was like, it gave me all the control that being in a band couldn't give me. So I tried to build a couple brands. I played a couple festivals, 2016, 2017. And then I stopped again because I had a really bad festival experience and I sold everything that I owned after that festival. But thank God I did, because that's when I started building companies. And I attribute my ability to have that track with Oakenfold to the fact that I know how to brand myself and I know how to position myself and I know how to have prospective conversations. And so about 6 months ago, I met a DJ out of the Philippines. Her name's Luann, and she did a track with Paul Oakenfold's ex-girlfriend. And Susie, if you're watching this, I'm sorry for calling you out. That ended up getting me the opportunity to remix that song. I hit up Luann. I was like, hey, can I remix this track? She's like, sure, absolutely. Well, that then got me in with Paul Oakenfold's ex. And she was like, hey, I have all these singles coming out this year. I would love for you to remix one. Okay, awesome. So then I had a conversation and we talked, and then Paul was involved, and it was like, hey, this is the one we think you should remix. And that remix came out a couple months ago, and it's been crushing in Mexico and Brazil.
Couple months ago?
Yeah.
Oh, this is new.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought this was years ago.
No, this track with Paul Oakenfold just came out in April.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing, man. Good
Yeah.
for you. So
Thank
I got
you.
a big time DJ. So for all you haters out there who think we're only about rap, you're going to be very surprised.
We might throw a couple tech house, Usher and Snoop Dogg edits in there at the Affiliate Ball.
But that's just edits. It's still
Yeah.
the EDM house.
Yeah. We're gonna if you're planning on having a conversation at the Affiliate Ball, you should do it in the side room, because the front room's gonna be going off.
All right, so maybe we'll get Adam from Ringba there, and he could be dancing shirtless or something.
That would be wonderful. Adam, if you're listening, you've just been called out.
Yeah, you've been called out. You got to come back. He said he would if there was a good DJ.
Now, I know
there-
that you have to.
Yeah, there's a good DJ. And since I mentioned Adam, I should also mention that our main sponsor of the party is Track Drive.
Yeah.
We love all the tracking platforms. You mentioned Retriever, also a fantastic one. But I'm going to say big shout out to Track Drive, because every single time they're a big sponsor of our events, and I'm super appreciative of that.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a great time. What do you think of Too Short?
Man, my inner child, I grew up in the hood. I grew up in Coachella. And most of the music I listened to when it wasn't heavy death metal was 80s and 90s hood rap. It was not the mainstream top 40s. It was the South Park Mexicans. It was the Immortal Technique. It was Tech Nine. It was the niche rap. And to have Too Short there and to be able to DJ after him is nothing short of a freaking honor.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
But
I can't wait.
before we kind of wrap things up, I want to go back to calls and tracking, because you and I have been doing some work behind the scenes that we may feel is appropriate to share on the podcast.
We might as well, because we're going to release it soon. So why don't you tell everybody what we're up to?
Yeah, absolutely. So you and I had a conversation, a couple of months ago. I've been gifted the opportunity to hang out with you and your fiance and my fiance and have a lot of fun together. And we talked about, the insane amount of fraud in the call industry. I personally, having experienced it, having sold calls to people who are creating fake LLCs, who you're waiting on these net 7, net 14, net 13 terms to pay. And then when it comes time to pay, they either scam, they run, they file bankruptcy, and it just doesn't work. And so a couple months ago, you and I were talking about the idea of changing the game in a way that didn't necessarily alter the way things were done, but it provided a level of safety, transparency.
Can I just summarize really quick? You mean not getting screwed over by people who don't pay?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Exactly.
Okay, continue.
Exactly. Right. So you and I had some conversations and we really started exploring what's the best way to do this. Well, you and I had a meeting with none other than escrow.com and have had multiple meetings now, putting together a deal to put something together in the industry that has never been done, which is the first pay-per-call escrow platform that will allow sellers to feel safe knowing that the money that they're spending on generating inbounds and transfers is safe for a buyer and vice versa, right? Like, you're never going to have to worry about selling somebody calls, knowing that they're paying you on a net 7 for final expense or a net 30 for roofing, knowing that they're going to be able to walk away with that money every time. We're building the first escrow platform for the pay-per-call space that will have buyers put money up per transaction in an escrow secure, totally separate third-party account.
By escrow themselves.
By escrow themselves.
.com.
Yes.
That we are getting approval from, because they don't do this currently.
Nope.
So we had to get them to first agree to do it.
Yep.
And then we thought of a way that we can get the lowest rate
Yeah.
if people go through us.
Yeah.
So once they do it, not only are they doing it through us, it's never been done before, we're doing it, we're paving the way, but they're also going to save money then if they try to go around us at some point when they do accept it,
Exactly.
because we're always going to have the better deal. So we're always going to
Exactly.
get a cheaper deal for our customers.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I'm so tremendously excited about it. I think you'll probably agree that this industry is small, and the moment you start messing with people, you have to go through a complete Ethan Hunt, Tom Cruise, MI6 identity change if you want back in. And I think that this method, this whole process, this concept we're unveiling it's going to keep the bad guys out, the bad business away. It's going to keep the good guys in, and it's going to keep the good business getting better.
Yeah. And for those who don't understand how escrow works in general, if you've never bought a house or anything, the way it works is they're going to put their money in escrow.com's account, not ours, not theirs. It goes into their bank. And by the way, they're doing $6-point-something billion a year of transactions and money. Is that right?
Yeah.
And they do eBay, and they're like really big.
Yep.
So we're not dealing with some little mom and pop holding your money. We're dealing with a giant.
No.
And then if there's a problem, it gets disputed through them.
Yeah.
So now they have the arbitrator. They're going to go back and forth, and they're going to resolve the issue. But here's what happens. You're going to say you're going to do something, and you have their legal team looking at it, making sure that the deliverables are met.
Yep.
And when it's met, the funds are released.
Yeah.
And if there's any kind of dispute, it goes through them.
Yep.
And they resolve it.
Yeah.
And that's all a part of the very small fee that we're going to be charging.
Yeah.
Which is only like 2.5% or something. And then in bulk, it goes down.
Yeah. Yeah. They've given us an exclusive deal to bring this to the pay-per-call space that nobody else is getting. And it's just a privilege, honestly. It's a privilege to help an industry that is rampant with people that are not good. Let's just be honest. Do better. I think that there's so much money in this industry. There's so much potential in this industry. When I first found out about the idea that you could sell a call from a customer or a consumer looking for a service to a business, I was like, holy crap, dude, why? I want to sell gazillions of these a day. Right. But the reality is, if you don't have good people on both sides, you've got bad business. And I think whenever you enter an industry, you have an obligation to innovate in it and make it better. And if you're just trying to take advantage of the criminality that's already rampant, you're no better. Even if you are not participating, you're no better than the people that are actively doing that. right? So we're really excited. We're going to announce this at the AFIs. We're going to announce it at the affiliate ball. We're going to announce it at Contact. It's going to be everywhere. We're going to be onboarding our first couple of businesses and networks that want to be a part of this process over the next couple of weeks.
It's going to be insane because there's going to be a ton of money going through this.
Yeah.
And you and I, we're in business together. I love this. So
I do
we're
too.
announcing it here live on the D Money Show that, yes, D Money and Mike Gustin, we have a thing, and we're going to market it on which domain name?
Man, the domain name for our venture is callescrow.io.
Perfect. So we got a name. We're in business now. Huh?
And it's actually live now. If you go to your browser on your phone, type in callescrow.io, you can sign up for the wait list as I speak.
So I encourage you guys, callescrow.io, and we're going to handle everything: pay-per call, lead gen, form fills, anything affiliate related or performance marketing related. This can apply.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. And closing note, let's figure out where we go from here. You're going to be at the affiliate summit. You're going to be DJing there. We're going to have fun. What other trade shows are you going to be at soon?
Well, wink, wink, Retriever, where you at? Hope to be at their parties at Contact. Hope to be out at Lead Gen World. I'm also anybody that's international playing Amsterdam Dance Event in October. So, but man, it would be an honor to get a little more consistent around. So
you're a
these Lead Gen
working
shows.
DJ.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're out there doing the circuit, doing festivals. You're not just doing it out of your living room.
No. I just got back from Austin a couple weeks ago. Very, very, very accustomed to promoting, selling tickets, filling a room, and making people forget everything else going on in their lives.
Weed does that too. a lot of weed and a lot of alcohol blended in together.
Yeah. Hey, you know,
I'm just saying,
whatever we got to do to spice it up.
So how do you explain your sound musically?
I would say that, you know, my sound is what happens when Hans Zimmer has a crossover with a very, very horny, drunk young adult. That sounds very terrible.
Sloppy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wait, by young adult over 18.
Yeah, over 18.
Yeah, okay. I mean, because then they're not. Okay.
Yeah, young adult.
Not very, very young, but old enough that it's legal.
A club scene person that wants to go out and just
club scene person, yes, which is normally the ages of 18 and over, 21 and over.
21 plus, for
21
sure.
Plus.
Yeah,
okay.
that wants to just move.
So they're going to dance all night.
Yeah, honestly, dude. And if you don't, there's probably something going on in your head. Maybe you care too much about what people think.
I love it. And you recently went to a festival. Which one did you just go to?
I went to a ton, but we went to Coachella. Is that the one we're talking about?
I think it was Coachella.
Yeah, I went to Coachella with Trenton and Shelby and Courtney, and we had an absolute blast. And then that whole crew followed us out to Austin last week or 2 weeks ago now. And we rented a really massive Airbnb, had about 30 people over, and then we all went over to the club and just had an amazing.
And you performed at that club.
I did.
Yeah, I saw a video of it, and I got excited because I already told you that you're DJing the party based on you being cool. We're doing things, and I didn't really listen to your stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I'll let him DJ. I hope he's good. And it turns out you're pretty good.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun.
Okay.
We're gonna have a blast together.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on the show. And if people want to reach out to you, your email is
mg@tof.io.
The easiest email you're going to remember today. And Top of Funnel. So they could find Top of Funnel at tof.io.
That's right.
Perfect. All right. Well, listen, tell him that D Money sent you, because I know that you guys are very picky on who you bring in.
D Money sent you, and don't you forget it.
That's right. All right. Well, thanks for watching the D Money Show. We're going to keep doing this. I mean, I'm enjoying it, and I'm very happy we have a big sponsor like EDM. They're now fully behind it. We're going to be stepping our game up a little bit. So we're going to become available on all platforms soon. We're really, I mean, you'll see what's going to happen, but I think we got a pretty good thing going on here, and I'm excited to do it. And by the way, I'm not a newbie at it. I feel like I am, but I'm not. I was saying when I got here that I did this first. I was doing it back in the year 2000. I did it for, over a decade, and then I took 15 years off. So I just took a break. It was just a break, and I'm back. I'm better than ever.
And you're back in the best time in the industry. I feel like it's growing more than it ever has right now.
Yeah, I see other people doing it. And by the way, shout out to everybody else doing their shows. I love the other shows. And if you go to affiliateball.com, you'll see that we have the D Money Show link there. And we also have something that should be renamed. It says news, but what it really is it's podcast feeds. So if you want to see my curated podcast feeds, which include the Affiliate Marketing Show, it includes the John Castos podcast, which we love. We have the LFG show. We even have Neil Patel. We blended in a whole bunch of pods and it updates in real time. So all you got to do is go to affiliateball.com, click the button that says news. And while you're there, if you're in the industry, which I'm sure you are, if you're watching my little tiny show, sign up for affiliateball.com RSVP. You need it. It's too short. It's New York. Reality Hacker is your DJ name for
That's
now,
right.
right? You might
For now.
change it.
Might be changed.
Yeah, because
I might be called D Money Jr.
you could be. We'll call you Lil Money.
Lil Money.
Yeah, if you want to thug out a little bit, we'll call you Lil Money. All right, well, that's it. That's a wrap. That's our show for today. Thanks for watching, and we will be back for sure.
You know, Darren, he's pretty good. You might get me there. I'm not sure. It was just happened to be a coincidence that I'm not wearing a shirt right now, but I am in Hawaii, so I guess it's pretty normal.